When it comes to dating, we all want honesty, openness, and a sense of emotional safety. But sometimes you find yourself sensing that something is unspoken in the dynamic. Maybe she hasn't opened up about her past and you're left wondering why. Maybe you've noticed certain behaviors, certain inconsistencies, or certain emotional patterns, and you're trying to understand what they mean. And that curiosity brings a lot of people to this topic. So today we're going to explore something that many couples struggle with but rarely talk about directly. 6 signs she has slept with a lot of men without opening up to you. And before we go deeper, let me be clear. This is not about shaming, blaming, or scoring someone's worth. This is about emotional patterns, communication, trust, and understanding how someone's past, whatever it looks like, can shape the way they show up with you today. I'm the intimacy doctor, real talk, real science, real intimacy, and this conversation is here to help you build awareness and connection, not judgment or fear. So as you listen, stay open, stay curious, and check in with how each insight lands for you. If something resonates, let me know in the comments. If something challenges you, reflect on why. Because relationships thrive on emotional intelligence, and this channel is all about helping you grow that skill. Let's begin with something subtle but deeply telling: emotional defensiveness. If she's had a lot of partners and hasn't told you about it, she may carry anxiety around how you'll perceive her. Maybe she fears judgment, or maybe she's been shamed before. People who have experienced criticism for their past often develop protective barriers. So if every time the conversation casually touches on dating history, intimacy, or previous relationships, she suddenly shifts, maybe her tone tightens, maybe she changes the subject, maybe she becomes overly logical or overly dismissive, those behaviors can be signs of emotional self-protection. Research in relationship psychology shows that when individuals feel vulnerable about a topic, they instinctively avoid it, even when they want closeness with their partner. It isn't about hiding something maliciously. It's about managing the fear of being misunderstood. Ask yourself, does she seem nervous around certain conversations? Does her energy shift? And if so, what emotional wound might she be protecting? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how this shows up in your experiences. Another sign is inconsistency between what she says and what you intuitively feel from her behavior. Humans communicate through layers, through body language, tone, micro expressions, avoidance patterns, and emotional cues. When someone has a complex or active romantic history, but they're not ready to share it, they may talk about their past in vague ways or describe themselves as not really having dated much, even though their confidence around intimacy tells a different story. This isn't deception, it's identity management. Behavioral research shows that people often tell the story of their past that feels emotionally safe, not necessarily the story that is literally accurate. And that's because each of us carries a public self, a private self, and a protective self. If you notice mismatches, for example, she says she's inexperienced, but she's extremely comfortable with intimacy. Or she says she doesn't date much, but she has friends who treat her like someone who's had many past connections. Those inconsistencies might reflect hesitation to share her full history. The real question is, why does she feel unsafe sharing? And what can you do to create openness? That's what intimacy is built on. If this resonates, hit the like button. It helps more people find this kind of emotionally intelligent content. A third sign comes from emotional pacing in the relationship. People with a long or complicated romantic history often develop patterns of attaching quickly or avoiding attachment altogether. Sometimes their past experiences taught them that connection comes easily but rarely lasts. Other times, they learned to use physical intimacy as a form of emotional closeness because it felt safer or more controllable. So if she moves very fast physically, but stays slow emotionally, that contrast may reflect past dynamics she hasn't shared. A 2021 study on attachment and intimacy found that individuals with frequent past partners often separate physical closeness from emotional vulnerability, and not because they're incapable of love, but because they've learned to survive relationships in ways that protect them. If you notice this, if she's warm with her body but guarded with her heart, don't jump to conclusions. Instead, ask yourself, what emotional story is she carrying, and is she ready to trust you with it? And if you've experienced this before in dating, feel free to share your experiences below. Your perspective helps others learn. Let's move to a fourth sign, discomfort with being known. People who have had many past partners sometimes feel anxious about how they will be perceived. They've maybe dealt with labels, rumors, or stereotypes, and those experiences can create deep shame or secrecy. So she may avoid letting you meet certain friends, avoid certain social environments where she's known well, or get anxious when someone from her past appears in conversation. Again, this isn't guilt. This is fear of being judged. Relationship science shows that individuals who have experienced social stigma, especially around intimacy, often compartmentalize their friendships, environments, and relationships to feel safe. If she pulls away from situations where her past might be visible, it may reflect emotional scars rather than dishonesty. If you're seeing this, ask gentle, open-ended questions that create safety. Something like, I want to know you for who you are today, not who you were before. You don't have to hide anything with me. Statements like that build trust, not fear. Another sign relates to how she reacts when you talk about your past. If she becomes overly curious, intensely analytical, or noticeably sensitive, it may be because your openness triggers her own unspoken story. Humans often react strongly to topics where they feel exposed. Psychological studies on projection show that people sometimes become defensive about others' experiences when they themselves feel vulnerable about the same thing. So if she gets anxious when you talk about your exes or hyper, focuses on your number of past partners, or becomes tense when discussing sexual history, it may be because she's comparing your disclosure to the story she hasn't shared. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional fear, and it's your opportunity to approach the situation with compassion, not confrontation. A sixth sign ties directly into emotional trust. She hesitates to define the relationship even when the connection is strong. Why? Because defining the relationship often requires opening up, telling the truth about your past, and sharing vulnerable details that might feel risky. She may care about you deeply, but still fear that honesty will cost her the relationship. It's one of the most misunderstood dynamics in dating, someone holding back not because they're uninterested, but because they're terrified that you'll see them differently once you know that. History, people with more romantic or intimate experiences often carry narratives like, if I tell him, he'll think less of me, or people leave when they know the truth. These narratives are emotional, not logical, and they can trap someone in silence even when they want love. So what do you do with all of this? The answer isn't to interrogate or judge. It's to invite emotional closeness through curiosity, empathy, and non-judgmental communication. If you want her to open up about her past, you have to create an environment where honesty feels safe, not risky. Ask reflective questions like, what helps you feel safe being vulnerable? Or is there anything about your past you feel nervous sharing with me? These questions don't push, they open the door gently, because intimacy is not about knowing everything. It's about being someone who can hold the truth without weaponizing it. And here's the bigger perspective. Someone's past does not determine their worth, their capacity to love, or their ability to build a healthy, fulfilling relationship with you. What truly matters is emotional awareness, communication, trust, and the willingness to grow together. If you focus on judging the past, you lose the chance to build a beautiful present. But if you focus on understanding her emotional patterns, you give the relationship space to evolve. What do you think? Do you believe someone's past defines them? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about it together. Before we wrap up, if this conversation helped you understand relationships on a deeper level, tap that like button so more people can find this kind of real, science-based intimacy education. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the Intimacy Doctor and turn on notifications so you don't miss new videos on intimacy, emotional connection, trust, communication, and relationship psychology. And if you want something powerful to watch next, Check out my video on why people hide parts of themselves in relationships. It ties directly into everything we talked about today and will help you build even stronger emotional awareness in your love life. I'll see you there.